Hello everyone, this is Bora. Welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be talking about PvP, aka player versus player in Project Diablo 2. What's working, what's not. But before we get into that, obviously I would be remiss if I did not start with all of the hype Diablo news that came out over the weekend. Guys, how can we not be excited about Diablo in 2021? We have Diablo 4 coming out. We have Diablo 2 Remastered, aka Resurrected, coming out. We have Diablo Immortal coming out because I know you guys all have phones. And of course, we're going to continue to have more seasons of Project Diablo 2. So, all great news coming out over the weekend. And probably the most hype for me, because it's the most immediate, is that Project Diablo 2 ladder is going to reset on March 12th with a closed beta that starts on March 3rd. So, for the closed beta guys, I'll just do a little PSA on behalf of PD2. If you guys haven't supported the PD2 dev team already, please consider it. They've been doing such a phenomenal job. Of course, I'm saying this in advance of maybe condemning them on some of the choices that they made in terms of the PvP scene, but that's all. Obviously that just comes with adding a bunch of new and hype features. And guys, this video, I'll preface this with, this is not a criticism of the PD2 dev team. These guys are great. They care so much about the community. If you haven't supported yet, please do. And one of the absolute best perks about supporting on their Patreon, I don't know how to say it, is if you reach a certain tier of that Patreon, it's not super cheap, but you do get to enter the closed beta for the new season. Obviously single player, and you get to just kind of bug test, and maybe you can give a bit of recommendations, but obviously that's just a secondary benefit of just supporting the dev team, because they do such a phenomenal job. And you can tell, even with all the announcements, how much community feedback they actually added into season 2. Careful what you wish for, but the FOH Pally is going to be back, Fist of Heavens, next season, and that there was a major piece of community feedback, and they made that happen. So you can tell that they're extremely close to the community. They listen, they care, guys. So please support the PD2 team. Now, let's talk about PvP, and it's no surprise PvP is currently broken. There's no two ways around it. There's some classes that are some builds that are just broken. For instance, the Mind Blast Assassin is just ridiculous. Basically everybody at this point is a little bit ridiculous because what they've done in this game is obviously they've scaled up the offensive capabilities so high, while nerfing a lot of what I call defensive capabilities. And I don't mean, I'm not talking about this number here. I just mean, the opposite of offense. So your life, your Zorb, all that kind of stuff. So all that kind of stuff has been changed in PD2. And, ultimately, there's so many working parts to this game, and you're going to find a bit of imbalance somewhere. But let's just, I'll start this video by comparing what this looks like compared to vanilla Diablo 2. So this is my fully buffed Paladin, and I have some great gear, which I'll showcase a little bit later. But I have amazing gear, and all told, I'm sitting at 15k max damage with just shy of 2200 life. I've actually somehow been able to achieve pretty good resists, despite this being primarily a melee character, or a melee dueling character. But all told, I'm gonna show you what this looks like in contrast to vanilla. So just to give a bit of context here, guys, just a couple of months ago, I was the top rated Zealer in one of the melee leagues, being the second overall next to a Fury Druid. Just a couple of months ago on vanilla, non-ladder, US East, I was the top Zealer. I had absolutely godly gear, and I'm just gonna showcase what my tooltip looked like back in Diablo 2. So I was doing 8.1k max, and I had 4,000 life, which, again, I'm just going to show you my tooltip here. I'm almost doing as much minimum as I was doing maximum damage back in vanilla. And again, I was the top Zealer. I had absolutely insane gear. And, you know, it just goes to show what's, you know, kind of what the offensive scaling has been. And they've also nerfed life through battle orders at the same time. So just quickly looking at what battle orders does. Here it's adding 215 life. I think the way that it works, there's some base amount, and then you get 15 life per level. So, like it's not a lot. Adding 215 life is not a lot. In contrast, this is what the skill looked like back in vanilla Diablo 2. So, what level is my battle orders? My battle orders is level 12. So, if we're looking at level 12, that is a 68% increase. So instead of getting 215 life, I'm getting a much, instead of adding 215 life, I'll actually do the math here, boys. I can't remember what my base life was. Like, it was about 1950 times 0.68. I would be adding over 1,300 life back in old vanilla. So that just goes to show offense has got better, defense has got worse. The combination of that thing makes for a pretty rough situation in PvP. Now, one of the things that Senpai did talk about, and he addressed the problem with PvP in PD2 in his stream over the weekend, was that he's considering a blanket nerf for all damage types of at least 50% when it comes to PvP. So, you know, again, that would put me more in line with what I was doing on vanilla. I still personally don't think it's enough. I'll talk about, you know, I'll try to summarize my recommendations. I'll be making a couple of recommendations throughout the video, but I'll try to summarize them at the end. Look, guys, I think they've added such cool features to the game. Corruptions, puzzle boxes, they're amazing. They're extraordinary. It's just so much fun to slam items. It's just like, just to even collect godly gear. But look what it's done to, I'm just going to, you know, pick one of my items. So we have Schaefer's Hammer. This one got the increased attack speed and enhanced damage hybrid mod. That 200 to 260 range isn't accurate. That's what it was in vanilla. It's scaled a little bit higher even in PD2. And again, that just seems to be how things have gone. Most things have gone in the buff direction, especially when it comes to damage and offense. And it got, again, that hybrid mod. Now, this weapon isn't super viable back in vanilla because it's a very slow attack speed weapon. And to make it work at the highest breakpoint, which you always want to hit in melee dueling, I need 117 increased attack speed while having at least a level 27 fanaticism. So that's, obviously that's pretty prohibitive back in vanilla. But I got the increased attack speed breakpoint. I got multiple jewel slots all over the place. I got increased attack speed corruption here, and you can make 117 attack speed work pretty easily without sacrificing too much, especially because the weapon itself is so strong that if you make a bit of concession, with your corruptions, it's still going to be obviously extremely powerful. So I'm actually going to play a video right now that was that I just filmed of me and my friend, who's also another top Zealer, about me and him PvP. So I'm quickly going to show
gear check here.
Sorry, I had to mute that video. I'm quickly going to show all my gear. I'm just going to run through it very quickly. I've done a video build for the Zealer in the past. It was a PVM build. I've adapted it slightly for PvP. I swapped out my armor for the Templar's Might, which obviously adds huge defense, adds the Might Aura, because you don't use a mercenary when you duel, obviously. So, a couple of tweaks here and there, but all told, most of this build can be seen in my other video, so I'm not going to talk too much about the gear, but all told, I'm a very strong Zealer. I do think that my melee weapon is definitely among the top melee weapons on the server that I'm very lucky to have. And, I'm just going to quickly showcase my gear. I'm built to PvP. And I do a ton of damage. And so I'm going to showcase my gear quickly. In about 5 seconds, I'm going to jump over to my friend's gear. He also has some insane gear. And guys, we've tried a lot of different stuff. We've tried you know, using max PDR, physical damage reduction. And the max, by the way, is 50. It caps at 50%. So he's got a really nice 4 open socket F death cleaver here. Really great weapon because it's super fast. You only need 20 increased attack speed from the rest of your gear in order to hit that breakpoint. 3 open socket Vamp Gaze, 3 open socket Leviathan. You know, between the Gaze, the Leviathan, and the Verdungos, he hits the 50% PDR. He gets the 400 enhanced damage from Phoenix. I mean, he's doing a ton of damage too. I think he does 15k or 16k zeal as well. So in about 10 seconds, we're going to run out of town and we're going to duel. And you guys are going to see it's pretty anticlimactic. And it again, just all of these things just showcase how tilted the game is. You know, they tried to make a great PvM experience, and they did that. They made it harder because you have less life, and because they made Absorb much worse. And I'll showcase that after I do that, because I will showcase a bit of elemental damage after that. But here's Duel 1. As you can see, I almost got one shot. I two-shot him. And the duel itself was probably about 3 seconds long. And to be honest, guys, this is one of the longer duels that we have. Most are one shot. And yeah, I mean, it seems pretty RNG. In most cases, it's whoever hits first wins. This upcoming duel, not going to be a ton different. You know, I think this is another 2-shot. I didn't get hit, you know, like just it's not very exciting. And guys, like, here's the thing, and this is the fallout of all of this, because PvP is important, right? You know, back in vanilla, basically what you would start out doing, you would start out with, you know, obviously trying to, you know, magic find so that you could buy gear, and there's a one hit, right? Like, guys, like, it's just not like a very fun thing to do. So anyway, I'm gonna stop this video. And we'll continue talking. But, you know, what happens is, you know, back in vanilla, you MF, you get all your gear, you perfect your character, and then you go out into a PvP league or just into pub duels, all that kind of stuff, and you duel. And I think, you know, obviously PD2 is recognizing the need for a PvP scene, because what's happening here is people are achieving their PvM goals. They're trying PvP, they get dominated by a Mind Blast assassin, or just get lamed by, you know, one other thing or the other, or they do, like, you know, a lot of theory crafting like me, just to go out into the battlefield and get one shot. Now, it doesn't make for a very good PvP scene, and what's happening now is everybody's dropping off, and they're waiting for next season, and people are giving me their accounts, and, you know, telling me to sell gear for another Slam Fest and all that kind of stuff. And like that's kind of the fallout from not having a fantastic PvP scene. Now, what else hurts PvP? Absorb has been heavily nerfed. Look at these items. Dwarf Star, Fire Absorb, cut in half. Wisp Projector, cut in a third. At the bat, more, because you used to be able to have 20. Thunder Gods, you used to be able to have 10. Now you can have 5 to 10. Or sorry, you used to be able to have 20. Now you have 5 to 10. All these things hurt, because things like, again, because the damage is scaled up so high, that Javazon that, you know, back in vanilla, you used to put on your Absorb gear, and you weren't getting one hit anymore. You could still die, but you weren't getting one hit. And now you're still getting one hit even with your Absorb gear on. It's not as effective. It's been nerfed very hard. And elemental damage is scaled up so high that elemental damage duels kind of go the same way. And I'm going to showcase what that looks like here. So this is another one of my friends. Just quickly run through his gear. He has great, you know, obviously really great gear, but at the end of the day, this was really intended to be a PvM. This was intended to be a PvM character. And like I said, you know, Zorb has been so nerfed that it's not like I can just go throw on a Dwarf Star and I'm going to survive. You're going to see what happens. Poof. I'm gone. So, you know, obviously this is a fundamental problem, which will be addressed by something like a blanket nerf to all damage types. And, you know, he even said perhaps with Mind Blast, for instance, it might get nerfed by 80%. Like, literally, it might do 20% of your damage. But, like, look at this, guys. Like, I'm gonna I think in this one I'm gonna try to get to him. I'm gonna try to kill him, and I just die on my way. Now it doesn't make for it doesn't make for a very fun dueling. And again, guys, like I'm overstacked on fire res. When I showed my tooltip earlier, maybe I showed it here again. I'm sitting at 79 fire res, so I'm overstacked on. I'm not wearing any absorb, but the absorb won't help. It's not gonna. Yeah. So there you go. I'm at 79, and I'm buffed. I have a 6 battle orders, CTA, and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just dying in one shot. So, like I said, all this kind of stuff doesn't make for a very vibrant PvP scene, and obviously some of the stuff definitely needs to be addressed. So, what are some of my recommendations? Well, much in the way that fanaticism works, and you'll see I'm pulling it up here. They have your damage and they have party damage, and I think that this is kind of a concept that can be applied now like over a couple of different things. So for battle orders, I think that there's a world where they do like the increase to your life and the increase to your party's life, so you don't get into those PVM situations where you go into a game, there's a barbarian with level 42 battle orders, and then all of a sudden nobody's killable anymore. Now they've obviously made it so that end game content you can die, and that's one of the great things about PD2 is that the game from a PVM standpoint has gotten arguably more difficult. Now I'm not going to say it's extremely hard, but it is certainly more difficult. There are definitely builds in vanilla D2 that when you're buffed, you can throw on Zorb gear, max res, and you can stand in the middle of the bail room without killing anything, and you'll never die. That's just how strong your defensive capabilities were in vanilla. So they did, take some measures to try to balance that. But all told, it doesn't really work out in the way that it needs to. Now, another thing, what's really broken in PvP is magic damage, because magic and physical damage, but specifically magic damage, because there's nothing you can do to mitigate magic damage. Now I know someone is going to say in the comments, "Well, Bora, if you use a Mal rune, you can reduce it by 7, not 7%, 7." So you can stack a 3 open socket storm shield with 3 Mal runes, and you can reduce magic damage by 21. So when that Holy Bolter comes into your duel game doing 6.2k Holy Bolt, you can bring that down to 6170. And that's basically your ability to mitigate magic damage. So the Holy Bolter is an extremely broken class in PvP. He shoots you from afar, you can't get near him. Even for certain classes like a Boson, you can die to Holy Nova. So they can actually just stand, you're not even on the screen, they cast Holy Nova and you die off screen. And so obviously that's one of the builds that Magic did. So, and here's the thing, guys, like the PD2 team did a lot to try to help in that situation, because back in Diablo 2, if you recall, the hammer was magic damage and was buffed by concentration at 50% effectiveness. Anyway, I digress. They removed that, Holy Bolt and Hammerdins and all that kind of stuff. They don't get any help from concentration aura. Great. But like I said, because you can't mitigate, and because because your life total is so much less because the battle orders has taken a nerf, you're still going to die. So maybe, a piece of feedback would be that they add some percent-based magic damage reduction. Otherwise, they're going to just have to, that blanket nerf. Let's say they, baseline is 50%. For magic damage, they might have to do 80% because you have an inability to mitigate. Now, PDR, physical damage reduction, still works in PD2, but physical damage has probably gotten, it's gotten a very large nerf, even, elemental, because you have so many sockets, so many places to put facets, that, elemental damage has been hugely buffed as well. So, that's certainly a couple of problems. I'm really glad that they're, actively working to fix this, because it's definitely a huge problem. Like I said, some of the players that would normally, engage in a lot of end season PvP, I think are just kind of sitting it out and waiting for the next season. So, let's talk about one of the other pieces of the announcement that they made is that they're actually setting up a website and they want to do structured PvP leagues. Now that is really exciting for me. I've actually I ran the Melee PvP League on ladder, last ladder. Said ladder a couple times. Hope that didn't confuse you. But in Vanilla D2, I ran the Melee League, and I had a lot of fun administering that. And guys, look, Diablo 2 is pretty interesting because again, there's so many working parts, and it's not extremely balanced, but it's like almost there, and it's not like they were releasing balance patches all the time. Like it was kind of inherently balanced in a weird way, and maybe it just feels like that because your life total is higher, and you're just surviving more, and you absorb and all that kind of stuff. But all told, it doesn't feel like there's really a class that just dominates everything in Vanilla D2. So, one of the things that, so like I said, having a structured Melee League is actually extremely exciting. Now, one of the cool things about having a structured Melee League is, first of all, you remove all the assholes, because I guarantee, there's probably some of you out there in PD2 that are making your Melee duels game, and there's somebody coming in on a lightning source, town camping everyone, being an asshole. So, the structured Melee League will eliminate that. You'll be in private games. People that obviously fuck around will get banned. All that cool stuff. So I'm really excited for that. And moreover, with a structured Melee League, with a structured PvP League, you can introduce more rules to try to help balance the league. And so just to clarify, I didn't make this set of rules, but this was the set of rules that was implemented in the league that I did run. There was a bunch of banned items. So grief is so imbalanced, and it's actually interesting to see, kind of all this stuff, because you can tell that the PD2 dev team tried to eliminate a lot of this imbalance. Grief got nerfed into oblivion. Things that had life tap, like Exile and Drax, that like life tap was so imbalanced in pub duels. It was banned in most Melee leagues, but all told, in pub dueling, people would come in there with their Exile and their Drac gloves, and you could not kill them. They would life tap, they would heal up, and you'd have no chance. So they actively addressed a lot of the imbalance that we back in Vanilla D2 tried to address by banning items. So again, you can tell that the effort was there, but again, it's so hard to know. There's so many inputs, and once you make a couple of adjustments, you never know what the output is going to be. So, like I said, you can definitely tell that the heart is in the right place for the PD2 dev team. Senpai actively said, they want to do these structured leagues. Senpai, if you're listening, by the way, I would be happy to help you out with this kind of stuff. If you wanted to make me some type of administrator on a Melee League, I'd be absolutely happy to help, give you my input on what kind of what's going on, and I love to be part of the community. So one of the other cool things about a Melee League, and one second, I have to pull up another image here, but you can put in rules, and here are the rules. So shout out to the guys who made the Crown Melee ladder, Cambria, you're the man. But all of these rules have been, they've been finessed over the course of a very long time. So this is the difference between pub dueling and something like this. Like, you have a challenge system, you have a ladder, you have all these rules that just make dueling a little more balanced. Like, for instance, like if you go blindly into a duel, maybe you get crushed round one because you didn't know what you were going to be up against. But once you're allowed to swap out some of your gear in between sets, then maybe it becomes a little more interesting for you. So that's one of the really cool things about having a structured league. Very much looking forward to what the PD2 team does on that. So I'll just make one other comment is The one thing I don't love about this blanket nerf is how it might affect the low-level duel scene. Because from what I can tell, low-level dueling is pretty much thriving right now. In fact, you'll probably go type in duel right now into the search filter, and there will be a bunch of level 30 duelers. And it's pretty much balanced. At least it's better than high-level duel. Now that said, maybe a 50% damage nerf, maybe it just drags out the duels a little bit more, and that's that makes it a little more interesting as well. But to put it into perspective, guys, and this I met somebody last night. Why so die? Shout out to you. Met him in the low level duel game. I joined on my paladin, just to see kind of what the scene was like. I wanted to gauge a little bit of what was going on, and he was actually able to kill me with his level 30 boson on my level 93 paladin. And I don't mean like he was standing there shooting me for 2 minutes. Like, he killed me in about 5 shots, which just goes to show that the offensive capabilities have just been overbuffed. And so obviously something needs to be done there. But have I run through everything on my list? I believe I have. So guys, let's just close out here by again saying, this stuff, kudos to the PD2 dev team who have acknowledged that this is a problem. And again, you don't want to have your player base taking a month and a half off. And a lot of the players don't want to either, but they accomplish their PVM goals. And they say, okay, well, PvP is a little busted right now, so I'm just going to take it off until season 2. So I think everybody is still super hype about season 2. I know, everybody that I know that is taking a break is going to come back in season 2. But all told, it would be nice to have, this last month and a half where people are getting a little bit bored of PVM to do some really solid PvP. And I've been building, all sorts of PvP characters. I really tend towards melee PvP. I don't know if you guys watched my Slam Fest, aka what I've been calling Brick Fest, because I bricked just about every item that I slammed. I came out of it with one really nice item, and the more that I think about this item, after I shut down the video, I was like, oh my god, I just bricked everything. But a lot of people actually PM me, offering me a couple dozen high runes for this. But I escaped with one cool item, and I'm working this into a concentration barb. So for melee dueling, and I hope this remains the case in PD2 as they introduce the structured league, the 4 classes of melee duelers are a Jabzon, not a Javazon, a Jabzon that's doing physical damage, a Zealer, a concentration barb, and a Fury Druid. Now, Fury Druids have been so hard nerfed, and that's something that's going to need to be addressed as well, because even in melee dueling, the Fury Druids back in vanilla are able to use their Heart of the Oak. And so what I'm used to, like, again, they have very low defense, so it's not great for melee dueling, but that's compensated by the fact that back in vanilla, they had 10k life. And again, even then it was still only kind of balanced for them. But some of the strongest Fury Druids were very strong. But yeah, you had 10k life to work with, and now after CTA, after Heart of the Oak, a lot of Druids are still sitting at 3k life, and it's just not enough because their defense is so bad. So anyway, I know that there's changes coming. I know that they're going to get it right. Maybe it will take a bit of feedback. So guys, just remember that Senpai and the dev team, they listen. You can see it in all the changes that are being made for season 2. So if you do have, if you're knowledgeable about this stuff and you have feedback, please send it Senpai's way or give it to me, and I can pass it on to Senpai if you'd like. But obviously don't pass on useless feedback. But do your best to educate yourself on kind of the intricacies. And do your best to help the community. All I can say for myself is that the community has been very generous, and I'm just very impressed with the overall demeanor of the community. This is probably the least toxic community I've ever been a part of. So shout out to you guys, the PD2 dev team, everybody for doing such a great job on making this all work. And yeah, obviously looking forward to a better PvP scene in season 2. So guys, this is Bora. I'm jumping off. If you do want to message me on Discord, Bora, #7700. I'll talk about anything. I love to theory craft. If you guys want to talk about PvP, elemental, physical, melee, whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm there to talk. So please reach out. And again, if you do like my content, please like and subscribe. I will continue to do PD2 content and just obviously D2 content. This is such a great year for D2 or just Diablo and even in general. So feel free to reach out and talk to me, like and subscribe, and I will continue doing all of this content. Cheers, guys, and see you next video.